Yeah, I grew up during the 1940s and 50s, hearing grown-ups talk about how it looked like the communists were out to take over the world. And then the Korean War happened during my childhood, and our country lost close to 50,000 soldiers fighting communist expansionism. And then the next thing I knew, I was locked up in a communist prison in North Vietnam. And I don't know how many times I've read their word in their books that their goal was to get a victory for their system throughout the world and to eradicate capitalism from the globe. One day, an officer in the Army in North Vietnam told me, he said, contrary to what we'd like to believe, wars are never settled over the conference table. They're always settled on the battlefield. Now sit in prison year after year and let those two thoughts work in your head. If they're going to eradicate capitalism, and it's going to happen on the battlefield. It'll make you pretty proud that you were over there on the team trying to prevent all that. It was during my 18 months of solitary confinement that President Lyndon Johnson said, I shall not seek and I will not accept the nomination of my party. The result of that was that Richard Nixon became president in 1968. And I was excited about that. I said, yeah, VP under Eisenhower for 8 years. This guy will kick this thing off at dead center, right? Well, not exactly. I was still sitting there in that prison 4 years later when it was time for elections again. Only this time, it was a little different. In 1972, he won by the biggest landslide victory that our country had ever had. And man, did that ever send a message to the government in Illinois. Within 45 days, Richard Nixon sent the B-52s, the entire Air Force Tactical Air Command, and warbirds off of, I think, 6 different aircraft carriers in the area. Everybody came downtown. It was December 18, 1972. It was called Operation Linebacker 2. And I was there. I was in a cell with like 40 other guys. And man, were we stoked. Think about all 5 of your senses just getting sensory overload. The noise was horrendous all night long. Of course, this thing started after dark, you know. And the light show was awesome. The ground shook like about a Richter 9 all night long. And everything corking off, the bombs, the SAMs, the AAA. It put a smell into the air that was so thick that it would get in your mouth and you could taste it. And it tasted like going home. Because just like that guy said, these things are settled on the battlefield, right? We call it peace through superior firepower, or freedom comes from shock and awe. That's exactly what happened. Within 3 months, every one of us was back in the good old US of A. You know, it wasn't too long after that when President Ronald Reagan says, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. I mention that because every time I hear those words, it takes me back through all these thoughts that I just told you about. And it always makes me want to say thanks to certain groups of people. I was given the green light to represent all of the Vietnam POWs here today, and I'd like to include those that have flown on ahead, like the good Vice Admiral Jim Stockdale and the others. Just think of them as being right beside me right now. When we say thanks to all of the Vietnam vets, everybody that supported the Vietnam vet, everybody that participated in that linebacker too, and everybody who voted in 1972. Just knowing that good people like you were back here pulling for us is what got us through those long and unpleasant years. And we thank all of you. You guys brought us home. And in the end, whether you realize it or not, you all added one of those little epsilons toward the overall goal of tearing down that wall. So we thank you all very, very much. The best of luck to each and every one of you. And I don't want to offend anybody with my closing. So I'll say, without regard to what God you may or may not believe in, but just in the spirit of the slogan, God bless America. Okay, thank you.